Pasha Paroh, wine at 7. Thank you for tuning. We back. If you didn't catch the last one we did, breaking down or looking into Fed now, uh, take your time and go ahead and look into that one. Okay. So what we're gonna do here today is I wanted to have a more in depth, a deeper look at social credit score. And for your entertainment purposes only, thought we would review just briefly life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I know many of you feel isolated. And during quarantine, many of you were reminded why. Okay? So let's have some fun in the review of some articles. So to pick up where we left off, I want to go over, I'll give you a little heads up. This is what I want to do. I want to go back to that site that I showed you in the last video, and I want to go over the column on the right that had the red and green. I know we talked about the middle and some key bullet points, but there's a lot of detail on the right-hand column. I want to make sure that you had some experience with that. All right. And I think this potentially has the energy to create new borders. And I want to go over why or how. And then we'll cover just the words. I just want to go over the etymology of the word life, liberty, maybe another word in there. Not really etymology, but we're going to look at the Black's Law Dictionary meaning, because I wonder how close. I want to hear your perspective of how close this brings you to it being a life/death situation by default. And wait till you see what these words mean and what's on the horizon, and then let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's talk about it with your friends and family. Let's go. All right, so let's start with this right here. And for those who, like I said, missed the last show, go back and watch that one. Okay. We covered all this pretty much in detail down here in the center. And, talk about how it works. Each citizen is expected to be given a social credit score that will increase or decrease depending on whether the subject's social behavior is acceptable. Okay. So let's look at some things that'll get you an increased credit or social credit score, that is. All right. So we got, or not that it will get you, but what do you get, quote unquote, under an increased social credit score, basically. So you get priority for school admissions and employment. As if some of you didn't already think you were having a hard enough time in those categories, or that you didn't see or feel that it could be an improvement in those categories. Now they're going to just flat out tell you they're going to assign priority based on their beliefs and what you should be saying, doing, eating, wearing. Easier access to cash loans and consumer credit. Again, as if you may not have had any challenges in the past in that arena. Deposit-free bicycle and car hire. Okay? Speak good about the government, you get the free Uber. Say something bad about your local school system, your deposit goes up. Free gym facilities. And this doesn't necessarily imply the entirety of the list, but just look at these variables and then what in your mind comes to your mind that could be added to this list. Okay? And I know this video is only going to reach certain people because they're actively consuming this information. They're wanting to know the truth about the future. Right? And the present and the past. You're not the ones that are saying, let's just go with the flow. Let's just fit in. Okay? I get it. Cheaper public transportation. Now, don't just think about public transportation as being your, bus system, right? Think about your flight, your next flight, your next train, your next cruise ship, all public transportation. All right. What else we got? We got shorter wait times in the hospitals. If you didn't think there were challenges in this area perceived by certain people in the past, now they're just flat out telling you, yeah, if you do what we want you to do, what we recommend, what we want you to do, what we believe, you're gonna have shorter wait times at the hospital. You're gonna have priority admissions for school and employment. You're gonna have easier access to cash and consumer loans, which probably includes personal and business. Deposit-free bicycle and car hire. Gym facilities free. Cheaper public transportation, like I said, that's not limited to buses. Think about your cruise ships, your airlines, your trains. All right. Look at the next one. Fast track promotion at work. So you're going to advance, or they will advance faster at work. They are going to get the promotions at work quicker because of a social credit score, not their talent or their performance, but because of a social credit score. You get to skip the line in public housing. And of course, tax breaks. Now, let's look at the red column real quick. If you have low social credit score, you can look and expect things like denial of licenses, permits, and access to some social services. So everything that you think of license, like a business license, like a concealed carry license, like permits when you're doing construction, even you want to add on to your home or something, you need a permit. Anything you need a permit for, denied. Exclusion from booking flights or high-speed trains. Now you gotta walk it out. Less access to credit. Restricted access to public services. You mean the internet of all things that they're going to connect 5G to? Or 5G is going to connect everything? So wait a minute. They're going to have everything be connected to the internet of all things, but you won't have access to it, but yet everything you have will still be connected to it so they can track and monitor you. Right? Ineligibility for government jobs. No access to private school. And because of the greatness of normative social influence, public shaming, exposure either online or on TV screens in public spaces of the names, photos, and ID numbers of blacklisted citizens, phone dial tones mandated by authorities that inform people that they are calling a dishonest debtor. I mean, let me know in the comments below what items you would add to that list. What items come to your mind on the green side and the red side, and let's see what we come up with in the public discussion. All right. So what I want to do next, right, is I want to go look at this from MIT. And again, I appreciate y'all. I'm getting the flow together with the new broadcasting system, so I appreciate y'all. I know a lot of the YouTube wants that fast paced, blah 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 blah, and did you know, and then blah, 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 but like, who learns like that? You know what I mean? Like, you don't talk like that in real life. You don't listen like that in real life. You know what I'm saying? You can't focus on the websites that we're reviewing, the content that we're reviewing, the words that we're saying, you know, really, 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 really fast. It's because they got something they're trying to hide. And this may be just my personal opinion of it, but the one thing everybody that could be hiding, that's, I'm gonna say everybody, but a lot of content producers is hiding, is that it's staged, it's fake. You know what I mean? Like, to a degree. So I like to, if you see me somewhere, you know, this is the same way we're gonna have this conversation. You know what I mean? We got phones, we got internet, we at your place, we got internet, whatever. We pull this up, like, yo, check this out. I'm actually the type that be like, hey, pull your phone out, look this up. Don't take my word for it. You know what I mean? Because then you're gonna be looking at me, which You know how that go. But anyway, that's my take on it. Like I said, this is a safe space for free minds. So I want you to feel comfortable. Not like you're being in a sales pitch. All right, so let me get this up here because that's not the one I want to show you yet. I want to show you this one. Yes. Okay. From your favorite people, when you want to get what do? When you want to get something accepted and denounced and said, no, that's not what's really going on, you're bringing your experts to go tell everybody, right? All right, so let's take a look at this real quick. There's a part here that I highlighted. I mean, this is supposedly from MIT Technology Review. They give you a nice little, you see here, it's the title, back on November 22nd of 2022. So 11/22 2022, 6/10, 11/12, that's 3. That's all about social. It's a great time to drop an article on social credit systems being wrong or give their spin on it, so to speak. All right, I want to start down here. So it says, well, let's give the little pretext of right here. So they try to say that no, China's not really doing this yet. They have built like the foundation of everything they need to do it, but they ain't really do it like this yet on a national level. Blah 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 blah. And they're telling you this, that, the other. Then they go on to tell you about it though, right? So here goes. They said, so that said, the government has mostly figured out the financial part. Okay. The system, first released to the public in 2006, significantly updated in 2020, is essentially the Chinese equivalent of the American Credit Bureau's scoring and is maintained by the country's central bank. It records the financial history of 1.4 billion Chinese individuals and gives them credit scores, as well as almost 100 million companies, though it doesn't give them scores. All right. Now, this is the part where it gets interesting. Think about this statement. Think about who's all involved in this per the way they're structuring it. On the social side, however, regulations have been patchy and vague to date. The national government has built only a system focused on companies, not individuals, which aggregates data on corporate regulation compliance from different government agencies. Kendra Shafir, head of tech policy research at the Beijing-based consultancy Trivium China, has described it in a report for the U.S. government's U.S.-China Economic and Security Review Commission as roughly equivalent to the IRS, FBI, EPA, USDA, FDA, HHS, HUD, Department of Energy, Department of Education, and every courthouse, police station, and major utility company in the U.S. sharing regulatory records across a single platform. The result is openly searchable by any Chinese citizen on a recent built website called Credit China. Think about that for a moment. All of the data that all of those US equivalents have association with, collected, compounded, is accessible about the individual to anyone on a website. To help establish your access in life. Okay? Let's continue. So, but there is some data on people and other types of organizations there too. The same website also serves as a central portal for over 36, sometimes very specific databases, including lists of individuals who have defaulted on a court judgment, Chinese universities that are legitimate, companies that are approved to build robots, and hospitals found to have conducted insurance fraud. Nevertheless, the curation seems so random that it's hard to see how people could use the portal as a consistent or comprehensive source of data. Right. For humor, if you're building something and you don't want them to see, like when they built the new cars and they take them out on the road for testing, they actually don't show you what the car looks like as its finished product. They kind of, if you get lucky enough to see it being tested on the road, it's got like a weird wrap to it, a weird paint scheme, all this stuff going on to kind of throw you off a little bit. I mean, you might know that it's a Cadillac or a Dodge or a Volkswagen, right? But you don't really know what it's going to look like. You know what I mean? Same thing there, right? Potentially, kind of, sort of. Let's continue. So here's where it gets interesting. How will the social credit system affect, and it says Chinese people everyday lives in this article, but just think about you. How would this affect you? So they said that the idea is to be both a carrot and a stick. So an individual or company with a good credit record. And remember, when they say credit, they're not just speaking about financial. They're also talking about social. Okay? So with a good credit record in all regulatory areas should receive preferential treatment when dealing with the government. Now, for that statement to really hit home, you got to go back and watch one of the other videos on YNet7 where we were being entertained by the concept of a lot of businesses, industries basically, are either owned by directly or subject to the authority of a government-owned corporation or entity. All right, so now now with that in mind, let's revisit this. See, this is why YNet7, they don't want to, they don't want this to go viral, but you need to make it go viral so that your neighbor doesn't try to sell you to the government, sell you later, basically. So anyway, let's reread that. The idea is for both. So an individual or company with a good credit record, remember, or social, in all regulatory areas should receive preferential treatment when dealing with the government, or basically anything in the pyramid beneath it, like being put on a priority list for subsidies. At the same time, individuals or companies with bad credit or social records will be punished by having their information publicly displayed, and they will be banned from participating in government procurement bids, consuming luxury goods, and leaving the country. Now, you kind of know at least what first comes to mind when you hear government bids is, contracts, getting contracts from the government or grants, right? Would that affect your stimulus checks next time they come out? Would that affect your We already know the social programs are going to be affected. So if you're receiving food stamps or EBT, or how does that affect your scholarships situation, right? You'd be surprised what's considered consuming a luxury good. When we saw that list earlier, and it mentions it later on in this article or another one I read, that the flight is considered a luxury good. So you can't fly to Vegas. You gotta travel by car because you can't take the train possibly either. So long way for you with everything, right? And leaving the country, of course. And again, this is entertainment. I didn't write this. We're just reviewing it. If I was having a reaction video to some stupid shit, somebody falling out of a chair or making waffles in a sock, the video would have 10 million views because that's the current representation of what the nation finds interesting at this point in time, right? So let's continue. And again, the funny thing about the truth, and not, the dumbest thing people say is, "Oh, that's your truth," right? And I get that's probably right for some people, but when you don't know who you're talking to, and you say something like that, "Oh, that's your truth," like you don't understand that certain people don't have a my truth. It is either the truth, which is includes all of infinity, or it's false, right? So no, this is not my truth that we're reviewing. This is not my opinion. This is the truth. But they'll leave you because the truth hurts and they blame you for delivering it. They blame you for their pain instead of saying the opportunity exists to change. So the government, back to this real quick. Let me get y'all back on this. The government published a comprehensive list detailing permissible punishment measures last year. Some measures are more controversial. For example, individuals who have failed to pay compensation decided by the court are restricted from traveling by plane or sending their children to costly private schools on the grounds that these constitute luxury consumption. The new draft law upholds a commitment that this list will be updated regularly. That's the key. The rollout, the pilot program comes in, and then they slowly increase the pressure on your neck. So, all right, what else? What I want to cover in here? Um, Give me a second. And the cool thing about this is you can always either go to the site yourself, or since I'm scrolling through, you can actually like pause the video and read this yourself, right? I think this is, the local governments. This is where I wanted to cover with you too. So right here is where they claim, no, we didn't want it to be a national thing or be for everybody. But it's worth remembering that the Chinese central government has actually been pushing back on local governments' rogue actions when it comes to social credit regulations. And this is where I see the opportunity for this technology, we're going to call it a technology, to create new borders. All right. When you think about business and when you think about taxes and when you think about regulations like on automobiles, you know that people either move to certain areas for quote unquote benefits, or like with the car game, like a supercar owner might live next door to you, but have their supercar registered in Montana, license plate in Montana, because it's more beneficial to have it registered in that state or that jurisdiction, even though they actually live next door to you, right? So we see this type of thing happening daily for those that know what they're looking at. What is going to prevent localities from wanting to entice the public in similar fashion? Welcome to the Wild Wild West. Hey, in this locality, we don't punish you for A, B, C, and D, and this, that, and the other. But if you do this, it's this, that, and the other. So people are going to have that as option in choosing why they want to be where when they do what. So think about that. You already know how the city limits, within the city limits, is looked at versus how outside the city, and the difference they view each other, right? So things like that, start to look at that. Now it says in December 2020, China's State Council published a policy guidance responding to reports that local governments were using social credit system as justification for punishing even trivial actions like jaywalking, recycling incorrectly, and not wearing masks. The guidance asked local governments to punish only behaviors that are already illegal under China's current legislative system and not expand beyond that, at least until they put out a new law, right? So think about these laws or these bills that are being passed in the jurisdiction of the United States, and think about how instantaneously it could go into effect if all of this stuff is now flipped on one switch and working together like we've been talking about for entertainment purposes. All right, so feel free to look at this article here, how Chinese tech companies are involved in the system. Okay, it's got some more detail for you there, etc. So let's move on real quick. I want to show you this now. This is so cool. All right, so which one is which here? I think this one is life. Yeah. All right, so look, right? You know the saying, the pursuit of life, or life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? So here's what the word life means. Life, per the Black's Law Dictionary, not like Webster's or anything else. Per the Law Dictionary, Black's Law Dictionary, 1933, third edition. The state of animals and plants or of an organized being in which its natural functions and motions are performed, or in which its organs are capable of performing their functions. The sum of the forces by which death is resisted Okay, keep that in mind. The sum of the forces by which death is resisted, because then we should look at how they define what is death. Hold on. All right, here we go. And death is the cessation, right? If I said that right, of the cessation of life, right? The ceasing to exist. The ceasing to exist. Defined by physicians as a total stoppage. Now see, it says the ceasing to exist, but then it says defined by physicians. It doesn't mean that the definition that physicians give you is the only definition. So we have the cessation of life, the ceasing to exist, defined by physicians as a total stoppage of the circulation of the blood and a cessation of the animal and vital functions consequent thereon, such as respiration, pulsation, etc. Now, I think this is important to note. It says this is natural death, in contradistinction to civil death, and also to violent death, right? So here it starts to tell you what a civil death is. The state of a person who, though possessing natural life, has lost all his civil rights, and as to them is considered as dead. Okay. Let's look at the continuation of this. Hold on. All right, hold on. I found it. Okay, here we go. So here it continues, right? The civil death spoken in the books is of two kinds, where there is a total extinction of the civil rights and relations of the party, so that he can neither take nor hold property, and his heirs succeed to his estate in the same manner, as if he were really dead. So think about the quotes that you heard circulating around that by 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. Is that not civil death to you for entertainment purposes? I mean, let me know what you think in the comments below. All right. So, and his heirs succeed to his estate in the same manner as if he were dead, or the estate is forfeited to the crown. Where there is an incapacity to hold property is number 2 definition of it, or to sue in the king's courts. So you potentially wouldn't even be able to bring case or bring suit in the event of tort. So attended with forfeiture of the estate to the crown. Okay? So I mean, think about that for a moment, right? That's death, civil death. And when we look at this social credit score and all this stuff, right? This video and the one before it, isn't that what we're talking about here? A nice rollout, a nice polished way to deliver civil death for entertainment purposes. I mean, you gotta find this humorous, you know? I mean, fault me for having a weird sense of humor, right? So now let's look at this, okay? So I just want to go over this real quick. One other thing, and then we up out of here. Declaration of Independence, right? Got these famous things called words put together in sentences with commas and periods and other punctuation marks. And in this highlighted part, it says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed." Now, look at the statement in two parts. The first part is telling you what it is. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not that conclude or are limited to, but that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, so that tells you what it is. It's kind of like they tell you the rule, and then they tell you how you're gonna get fucked up, right? So it says now that to secure these rights, see, because who's securing them? Oh, to secure these rights, governments are instituted among the men. It's like the wolf in sheep's clothing. It's like as if this is saying, these are the sheeps, and in order for the wolf to eat the sheep, he wore sheep's clothing among the sheeps, right? Or the chicken coop and the fox, whatever variables you need for this to make sense. The shark and the school of fishies, right? So to secure these rights, or to get that chicken, the governments are instituted among the men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So they had to be the wolf had to be accepted by the chickens in the coop, which is where you get that saying that to control any population, you just need to control the women in the population. Which, go watch that video. There, when I was saying that the problem with society is that all the women, most of them, I'm gonna say all, a lot of the women, They may be like, I'm this, I'm that, I don't do this, I support you here, but they all connected to the government. They all products of the government. They all, not all of them, but all of 95% of them. You know what I mean? Their loyalty is not with you, men. Their loyalty is with the government because the government gives them the benefits. The government tells them they get everything when they leave you in a divorce. So ultimately, yeah, they ride or die with you until they ready to cash in. You're a cash cow. Period. Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, whoever, you pick them, right? So until we change the mindset and the destination that the women in the nation want to achieve, it's going to continue on this slide, and it's going to be because they're so incentivized by commerce to consume by nature. Okay. But anyway, that's another conversation. Let's continue with this because so they get the consent of the governed that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundations on such principles as organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Okay? So that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and institute a new government. And why is that important, Pasha? I mean, for those that even have to question it as they're sitting around being told how much less of a life they are and how much more of civil death they are to become. For entertainment, this is strictly humor. I mean, I know a lot of comedians that tell jokes without laughing because you're supposed to do the laughing. You're supposed to be rolling around on the floor, being so amused by this new rollout of control in your daycare. Let me get this here for you and we'll close out. I wanted to go over this here with you from The Hill, your local trusted source. All right, so this article here is from The Hill, and it was dated August 3rd of 2021, okay? So the new domestic war on terror kicked off by the riot on January 6th has prompted several web giants to unveil predecessors to what effectively could become a soft social credit system by the end of this decade. Relying on an indirect hand from DC, our social betters in corporate America will attempt to force the most profound changes our society has seen during the internet era. So it says China's social credit system is a combination of government and business surveillance that gives citizens a score that can restrict the ability of individuals to take actions or life, apparently, right? That's what it said, motion, when we looked at the definition, right? Such as purchasing plane tickets, acquiring property, or taking loans. because of behaviors. Given the position of several major American companies, a similar system may be coming here sooner than you think. At that time, remember this was August 2021? It said last week PayPal announced a partnership with left-wing Southern Poverty Law Center to investigate the role of white supremacists and propagators of anti-government rhetoric, subject labels that potentially could impact a large number of groups or people using their service. PayPal says the collected information will be shared with other financial firms and politicians. The politicians? So Facebook is taking similar measures, recently introducing messages that ask users to snitch on their potentially extremist friends, which, considering the platform's bias, seems mainly to target the political right. So you wonder why you're not getting any engagement on your page when you're putting up posts that have memes that tell truth or what have you. Because one of your friends is pushing the button on you, complaining about your post. And Facebook is enjoying that, right? Because then they get to restrict you. And they probably get to charge the government for that restriction in the back office. At the same time, Facebook and Microsoft are working with several other web giants in the United Nations on a database to block potential extremist content. The last post you made about how your school board, messed up, or how, whatever, you're now a blocked potential extremist. The actions of these major companies may seem logical in an internet riddled with scams and crimes. Of course, they got to give you a sales pitch. After all, nobody will defend far-right militias or white supremacist groups using these platforms for their audacious goals. However, the same issue with government censorship exists with corporate censorship. If there's a line, who draws it? I'm glad somebody else sees that. Who draws it? What is their agenda? Will the distinction between mundane, political, and extremism be I'll know it when I see it scenario, as former Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart described? If so, will there be individuals able to unilaterally remove people's effective ability to use the internet? Could a Facebook employee equate Ben Shapiro with David Duke and remove his account? And see, they already tested this. What do you mean they already tested it, Pasha? They tested it when they banned Donald Trump from Twitter and took off other people, right? Kanye. And you guys sat there and watched and said, yay! Or you said, well, it doesn't affect me, so I don't want to, right? You acquiesce through silence. You acquiesce through silence. You accept it. The implications of this crackdown efforts will be significantly more broad than just prohibiting Trump from tweeting at 3 a.m. Young people cannot effectively function in a society if blocked from using Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, Uber, Amazon, PayPal, Venmo, and other financial transaction systems. And they say young people, but you can't either. Amazon Sidewalk. I mean, if you don't know what that is, just go look it up. You're not gonna. Soon there will be no escape from the chicken coop with the wolf. Some banking platforms already have announced a ban on certain legal purchases, such as firearms. Now they're gonna control what you buy. The growth of such restrictions, which will only accelerate with the support from somebody, could create a system in which individuals who do not hold certain political views could be blocked from polite society and left unable to make a living. And once that occurs, right, is that going to reposition us back into a system of have and have nots, where you look back at the story that they sold us on slavery and say some slaves were actually purchased so that they could be in a position to have a certain quality of life? Like, if you were free and your cousin, brother, aunt was a slave, and you had the opportunity, would you buy them so they could become part of your household, where you could give them a quality of life as if they were free too? Are we, for those that don't know history, are we positioning to revisit it? Does history truly always repeat itself? I mean, see, we're 57, 58 minutes into this, and a lot of people didn't make it this far. But for you, you get this value of thought. Everything comes with a cost. Yeah, sure. I'm not charging you for this. You know what I'm saying? I'm not charging you for this. But it costs you an hour. If you didn't already know this. And it's going to cost you more because you get to think about it going forward. And you're going to go outside into the world tomorrow. And you're going to say, damn, I'm pumping gas. Damn, that's going to be affected by this. They're going to be able to tell you how much gas you can pump, how far you can go, if you can go anywhere at all. Right? Fed now. All right, let's go through this a little bit. I think, was there anything else on here? I mean, just check this article out. It's right here for you. Okay? You see where it's at. I'm trying to keep these to about an hour. I don't know. We'll see how it works out. I think that was a good coverage. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, among other rights. Or are you inviting civil death? I'm saying, that's why I don't, you can't hang with everybody. You know what I mean? They out there doing a bunch of stuff. It looks good right now. It looks like they winning, but they supporting this program. And it's all an illusion to make you feel like, to make you value the program, to make you interested in being purchased. Like I said, I know we're getting used to it, and the new platform. Keep in mind, we're gonna have the chat available. All right, going forward. I know these topics, A lot of people are afraid to talk about. They're afraid of their social credit score dropping. So I don't expect many comments, but when you bold, we can talk. We can talk about it. When you bold and when you brave, I understand that we're not gonna get a lot of comments because a lot of people aren't brave. They want to laugh. It's easy to talk about stuff. This was a stupid video about some dumb shit. It'd be 10 million comments with 5 billion opinions, but nobody's gonna have an opinion of this because they're already censoring themselves because of fear. So we got a lot of work to do, people. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Pasha Paroh, YNet7. Thank you for tuning.